I was a member of parliament from 91 to 96, and I witnessed the economic reforms which were launched by Narasimha Rao and Dr. Manmohan Singh, the finance minister, which completely changed the Indian economy.
Right.
Later on, I got elected again in 96 and 98. So that was my innings in Lok Sabha.
Right. But it's amazing. I think I'm really having fun having this conversation. So insightful. So, I mean, as you said, and you very elaborately described how this thing quite literally happened overnight, right? With that one nomination from engineering to politics. Now I'm keen to know what was one of the most challenging, strategic decisions that you had to take in your career, politically speaking, because you had a technological background and everything. So, but politics also has its own challenges. So certain decisions might have been really challenging. So how did you deal with that challenge? And tell us a little bit more about your support system back home, who helped you cope with this challenge.
True. See, as I said, I got elected to Lok Sabha for the first time for a 5-year term
Yes.
in 91. 96, I got elected again. But after that, the Indian politics went through a big period of turmoil. In 96, there was the election in 98, which also won 3 in a row. But another year, there was another election in 99. So actually, there were 3 Lok Sabha elections in 3 years.
Okay.
Never happened before. And people, I think, developed fatigue that every third year is coming again for a Lok Sabha election. And the Congress party also split in Maharashtra in 99. So when I contested 4th time from Karad, I got defeated.
Okay.
I lost that election, which was, like you said, very milestone event in my political career. I could have just withered away. And I was, of course, quite shocked to be defeated. I didn't expect. I was doing very good work in Delhi. I was becoming a senior leader in those 7-8 years. But then I had to take the defeat by stride. But at that time, Mrs. Gandhi, who had become the Congress president by that time, she called me. She said, "Prithviraj, it doesn't matter you lost, but I would like you to continue to work in the party in Delhi. Can you stay in Delhi?" I said, "Yes, I can stay in Delhi." She said, "Okay, you start and work in the party." She gave me some official responsibility in the party. So I continued to work in the party, created some research cell for the members of parliament support system. So 99 election defeat. I was in 2000, 2001. I was working in the party and supporting the parties. So I was there connected with the politics. I did not withdraw away.
Right.
I had withdrawn from my company by that time.
Okay.
The company which had formed, because I was not able to devote much time. But in 2002, she perhaps thought my would be useful, but she got me into Rajya Sabha.
Okay.
So I became a member of Rajya Sabha in 2002 for a 6-year term. So my interrupted parliamentary career began again, took off.
Right.
Then 2002, I was a member of parliament in Rajya Sabha. Then Mrs. Gandhi inducted me as a general secretary of the party, which is a very honorable, very important position because you are like a cabinet of the party. And in 2004 Lok Sabha elections, and I was in Rajya Sabha, I didn't have to fight the Lok Sabha election. I was given the responsibility to run Gujarat election.
Okay.
It was a big challenge for me. We have the central cabinet of the Congress party consists of 8 or 10 general secretaries who are given responsibilities for 1 or 2 states. So it's like a party cabinet. And I was given first time a party responsibility to run a state. And I'm very proud that in the 2004 Lok Sabha election, very crucial election for India, Gujarat we did very well.
Okay.
The election was conducted in, I think, month of May or something like that. And I sat in Gujarat for 6 months, understood Gujarat, understood politics, understood social systems in Gujarat, political leaders and all. And I took some decision. Mrs. Gandhi backed me up, changed some local leaders there. And Mr. Narendra Modi, who was the Chief Minister of Gujarat, said that Congress party will blank out, will get nothing. Out of 26 seats, Congress party had 5. So my challenge was to improve that number. If I drop below that, then it would be a failure on my part. And so there was a challenge of Mr. Modi, was very popular Chief Minister at that time. So somehow I changed the president of the party, got somebody else, and we clicked well. And I toured the whole state, identified Lok Sabha candidates over 3 months and 4 months. And to our surprise, everybody from top to bottom, I was worried that Mr. Narendra Modi said you will blank out. So if I drop below 5, it will be bad news for me. I should at least get 5 or at least 6 seats to improve the poll. But we actually got 12 seats out of 26.
Wow.
It was an amazing race success. And those 7 extra seats that we got from 5 to 12 was the ultimate decision. Decision when the 2004 Congress formed the government. The strength of BJP was 138 and Congress 145. The difference was exactly 7. If you had not got those extra 7 seats, Mr. Atal Bihari Vajpayee would have become Prime Minister again in 2004. It was not him, Dr. Manmohan Singh would become the Prime Minister. I don't know how, but Mrs. Gandhi asked me to join the government. And she called me personally and said, I'm nominating as a Minister of State in the Manmohan Singh government. And then next day I found out that I've been made a Minister of State in Prime Minister's office.
Wow.
That was very honorable, very great experience, because Prime Minister's office looks after the whole central government and also looks after, coordinates with states, coordinates with international heads of state and all that, and very, very big responsibility. I continued doing that till 2010. In 2004, I was nominated to Rajya Sabha second time in 2008. In the meanwhile, I started picking additional responsibility. On one hand, I was General Secretary of the party for various states. I was General Secretary for 9 different states. And I ran elections in Karnataka, Jammu and Kashmir, Haryana, Arunachal Pradesh, Manipur. So party experience and government experience. But after a couple of years, I was given additional responsibility for what is known as DOPT, Department of Personnel, which is a very important ministry which looks after the entire HR functions of the Government of India. The human resources, the IS officers, the IPS officers, the foreign service officers, railway, accounts, all those officers are recruited by UPSC, which is under DOPT. So in addition to being a minister in the Prime Minister's office, I became DOPT minister. Then later on, after the new government was formed in 2009, I was additionally given a full charge of Ministry of Science and Technology, biotechnology, earth sciences. So I got reconnected with science after a very long time, from 91 to I think 2009. I became the Science Minister of India. I enjoyed it thoroughly. Before that, I was also looking after, on Prime Minister's behalf, space and atomic energy. Prime Minister also made me a member of the Space Commission, member of the Atomic Energy Commission, first non-official or a non-person from the system to become a member of the Space Commission and Atomic Energy Commission. He put me because of my background, and I thoroughly enjoyed and visited almost every atomic energy facility, every space facility, witnessed space launches, and all sort of exciting time. I used to reply questions in Parliament on behalf of the Prime Minister. And that I became Science and Technology Minister. CSIR, the Science and Technology, about 40, 50, 100 different labs under that ministry, Earth Sciences, the IMD, the Meteorological Department, Weather Department, and a whole lot of things. So that was a very exciting time. I had almost 8 or 9 different small firm ministries, which I looked after from 2009. Exciting time. Politically, well, being a Minister of State in Prime Minister's office, it was not a cabinet rank, but the Science and Technology full charge. We created under Dr. Manmohan Singh the ISERS, you heard of the Indian Institute of Science, Engineering and Research, which I expected would become as important as IITs or even better. I think this government has not funded them well, but they're functioning as science universities. I used to learning at the feet of Dr. Manmohan Singh and a great team of economists. I learned my economics there. Although not a person from economics, I learned that. And there was to be science advisory committee to Prime Minister. And I used to sit on every important committee the Prime Ministers attended. A great learning period for me for 6 years, from 2004 to 2010 November. And suddenly some political developments happened in Maharashtra. Mrs. Gandhi again called me at 3 o'clock in the morning, said, you are going to Maharashtra as the Chief Minister. Suddenly my whole career, I got cut off from Delhi and I came here to Chief Minister of Maharashtra and was there for about less than 4 years.
I mean, that's a very insightful, very inspirational journey. I mean, you've mastered both politics and engineering, at the same time. That's amazing how you've seen so many sectors and moved about so much. And so you've also been through the initial stages, like right after independence, and how the country was reshaping, taking shape under different great leaders. So what do you think, according to you, was the biggest change that you noticed India has been through under all the different rules and multiple parties and great leaders?
Well, one of the surprising and interesting things about India, which nobody thought would happen, was that we had continued to be a democracy. Many neighboring countries have not been successful as democracy. They've gone experimented with a different type of dictatorship, military, religious, kingships and others. We have continued to be a democracy. It had its own problems, but we are a democracy. Initially, there were shortages. There was a planned economy, and Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru realized that he must industrialize India. The only way to industrialize backward regions was to start public sector undertakings. So, late Jawaharlal Nehru had this vision. Maybe took inspiration from Russia, the Soviet Union then. But he set up large infrastructure projects, large industrial projects in most backward regions. Steel plants, Bhilai, Bokaro, Rourkela, Bhakra Nangal type dams, railways were expanded, airports were built, a whole lot of things. Companies and factories were started, the fertilizer plants, all that. And so every major industrial undertaking which went to backward area created an industrial township. Industrial culture began there, where many of them were Adivasi areas with no semblance of any industry at all. So I think about 250 industrial public sector industries that late Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru started in remotest corners of India helped to industrialize India, to build an industrial culture in these backward areas. Otherwise, industry would have remained in Mumbai, Pune, Delhi, Calcutta, Chennai built. It would have not left those big cities, port cities the British had created. But the public sector culture was not without its costs. The efficiency of these undertakings was very poor. We, of course, unfairly judged them because they had the additional responsibility of creating industrial township, building schools, building hospitals, township roads, drinking water systems, and all that had to be created, which a private sector company doesn't. It goes to a convenient location and just concentrates on manufacturing whatever they want to manufacture. They don't worry about building an industrial infrastructure. Jamshedji Tata did in Tata Nagar, but not too many people have done that. Some other people did that at time. Birlas did it in Renukot, Hindalko, townships were created. But our growth rate was very poor, 3.5%, 4%. And huge poverty, we could not make a dent in the poverty.
Right.
Indira Gandhi's time, there was food shortage. We had to import food, and unless the Americans sent food and unless the ships docked, we are literally living from ship to mouth. Indira Gandhi then initiated what is popularly called Green Revolution, Heat Revolution, and India started becoming self-sufficient in food grain, an important landmark in India's journey. Then major point of course is Rajiv Gandhi introduced computerization. He was cheered at. Uh, you know, he said, "Look now, all politics will be run from computer. Computer will take out a name and that'll happen." So but he was a visionary leader. A telecom revolution started. The C dot, the digital exchanges which Mr. Sam Pitroda pioneered, was because of Rajiv Gandhi's support. And then 91 happened when we had a major economic crisis. Rajiv Gandhi was assassinated. Narasimha Rao became the prime minister and he appointed an outsider, Dr. Manmohan Singh, to be the finance minister. I witnessed those changes as a new MP for 5 years from 91 to 96. Very exciting time. The entire country's economic direction was changed. A lot of license matters ended. We joined the global trade, licensing policy was released. Suddenly we saw the benefits of those changes, momentous changes in 1991. And the economy started growing from average of 3.5%, 4% in earlier days to 6.5%, 7% level.
Right.
Some of you might have known about those times, difficulties when you could not even get a landline telephone connection. We had to wait for years together. Or a two-wheeler scooter, you couldn't get for 10 years. So all that was changed. We opened up the economy, foreign investments are welcome. Earlier, we not allowed foreign investment at all. But at that time, we missed the bus to manufacturing computer chips or integrated circuits. So we still are not making any commercially. So those are errors that we did at that time. But then the 91 happened, and of course, then in more recent times, Manmohan Singh's era, where I worked as a minister for 6 years, from 2004 to 2014, was the decade. 4 to 14 was a decade when the India witnessed the highest economic growth rate ever. We took the 2008 global economic crisis in our stride. Nothing happened. And then 2014, we have a new government led by Narendra Modi, and we are in the opposition.
Right. Nice. I think this is really, really fun journey. So this segment is like a quick round. It's like a rapid fire round where we ask you some quick questions and we have like one word or one line answers just to get to know you a little more.
Very good.
Yeah, let's start. The first one is, what would you have chosen as a career option if not politics?
No, I would have been an engineer, definitely.
Okay.
I continue to be an engineer. I still think myself as an engineer.
Right.
Although I'm in politics now. I would have been a full-time engineer.
But I think you were also visionary in the sense that, even the startup culture is booming today, but you were always interested in that from the beginning, right after your engineering. So that's also pretty...
That was because I worked as a design engineer in America, worked with my hands and developed some skills, some vision, saw how Americans work. And I think I came here and tried to translate that into Indian environment and Indian milieu.
Yeah.
So we are successful, not like many other companies at that time, but we are okay. And till I made a transition to politics.
Right. So the next one, were you a part of any clubs or departments in BYTES at that point of time? And for example, right now we have the dance club, the music club in all 3 campuses. So what about your...
I remember I was a member of the photography club or whatever.
Oh, really?
There, then I used to play chess, used to be a small group of chess people. As I said, I used to focus more on sports activity.
Right.
Cricket team, I used to play tennis, I used to play badminton, then hostel games, the indoor games also. I tried almost everything. And I remember I took part in one play. Where that was my only interaction in theatre and acting and all. But other than that, I think I was an active member of photography club, which I continued for a long time.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, next question. So, which is the one famous freedom fighter you would say your ideologies match the most with?
Well, ideology matched with is difficult to say, but my favorite freedom fighter, of course, is Mahatma Gandhi, because I'll tell you why. Because he came from a very ordinary, common background.
Okay.
And his sheer leadership quality rose to the heights that it did. He
Right.
did not, he was not a dynast, he did not have any great parents, or he did not have great schooling. He had average schooling, was went to England. And he became leader of what, 40, 60, 70, 80 crore people at that time.
Mhm.
Just a, but by himself, his own example,
Yes.
made people follow him.
Right.
It's unique,
Okay.
but I'm not like him, because I can't match what he did, but you know, he's a kind of a great personality in modern day politics.
Okay. The next question. What is your favorite book and which ones you would recommend to people who would want to know about India and its core fundamental governance better?
Well, actually, one thing which I regret very deeply is in our engineering curriculum, although it was a 5-year long curriculum, there was no exposure to humanities, no exposure
Yeah.
to,
Okay.
politics, economics, philosophy, such subjects, because they were non-hard science subjects. All the soft subjects, they were generally looked down upon because they didn't yield a great job or a great career opportunity. Nobody went anywhere near humanities because getting a job or getting settled in life was difficult if you chose those
Okay.
subjects. You could become a lawyer after taking that choice, or economics started becoming a mainline discipline later on. But otherwise, history, geography, political science, no, they're not a prime subject. But it's very regrettable, because leadership is created only through training in humanities, not
Right.
medicine or engineering or anything else. And we missed out on that completely. In my days in United States, in Berkeley campus particularly, I got exposed to other cultures. I got exposed to uh, art, culture, theater, films from other countries, which was not possible in India at all. But I regret that the curriculum that was planned in Pilani for us, 5-year curriculum, was so technology focused and create such a tunnel vision. You just talked about engineering, nothing but that. So communication skills, the overall confidence level, and the overall general knowledge level, knowledge of the constitution, and the minimum legal literacy, or history of India, all that was missed out. When I joined politics, I realized that there's a big hole in our education and all that. And I tried to cover it up, not very easily possible because of the full-time involvement as a politician. It's a more than a 24-hour a day job. So
Yeah.
within that time, there were slots. So now I try to do, I watch a lot of documentaries, historical documentaries about Indian history, about global history, Western civilization, the Greek Roman era and all that. It's quite exciting. Where is the Napoleonic Wars and all that. With plenty of options now available on the internet, and so many online courses available. You can read books online. And I try to read up a little, whatever I can, about Indian history, about the Western civilization, what happened in other countries. Try to make up for it. But I can't become a rigorous humanities person. That much time is not available. I very strongly advise all engineers who are coming out of BITS, because BITS is much more liberal place now. It's all job systems now. But I think please, even if your regular curriculum does not allow you to go beyond your primary discipline, try to develop a more rounded personality by getting into other things. And it's possible today with internet.
Yes.
I think books, I used to read a lot in young days, but at different times you read different books. And depending on your age, depending on your circumstances of life, different books impact you, affect you differently. Very young, I was in Karad. I used to love Tarzan series. Very young. The book which, novel number one, novel which really which impacted me deeply, like the English prose and everything, was of course The Tale of Two Cities by Dickens. It remained to be my favorite novel. It's with a lot of people. We had one book by Charles Dickens for during your studies, Pickwick Papers. So I'm familiar with Dickens. Beyond that, it was difficult to get into English literature or Shakespeare and all. I think that came later on. That's an interesting.
Okay. Last question.
Now reading is all non-fiction.
Yes.
Not about current affairs, economics, all that. Very rarely do I get a chance to read a spy thriller or a murder story. But my favorite author, of course, on the fiction genre is Frederick Forsyth.
Okay. So last question in this round. Which country's governance and policies inspire you the most?
It'd be difficult. I won't be a good judge of the global scene, but I lived in America, so I've seen the democracy, American democracy, work very closely over 4 or 5 years. And particularly during late 1960s, 69, 70, 71. A huge turmoil in America. And it happened right in the Berkeley campus.
Right.
The books written on what happened in Berkeley in 1969. And I was witness to all that turmoil. Okay. And the Vietnam War on one side, the Black Panther movement the other side, the hippie culture the other side. It's completely like culture shock, what is happening. And that is what American democracy was all about. And we're nowhere close to that point. But, it's something to aspire for.
Right. Okay, so that was this.
Okay.
Thank you so much for taking our time, sir.
This is Prithviraj Chavan signing off.
Thank you, sir.
It was such pleasure talking to Mr. Chavan and extremely reassuring to learn that our country still has such progressive and talented leaders in the administration. Not only is his own journey so inspiring, but also the work that he has done during his term in the government does break many a stereotype. And clearly, for him, age is just a number. The enthusiasm with which he continues to engage so sincerely with everyone is just amazing.
We hope after this, you know a little something more about Mr. Chavan and he managed to strike a chord with you. Because now we sure look up to him not just as an able leader, but also as a wonderful human being. And before you go, comment below and do let us know your suggestions. And don't forget to like, share, subscribe. And we'll see you again next week. Till then, stay inspired and motivated.